The derelict freighter hung in the cold dark near the edge of the solar system, like a forgotten bone. Its hull was pitted and scarred from centuries of drifting through dust and ice. To most, it was just another ghost ship, empty, dead, and worthless. But to the crew of the Iron Mantis, it was a prize waiting to be claimed. Lena Ruiz stood at the viewport of her small scavenger vessel, her eyes fixed on the silent shape ahead. She was lean, with sharp eyes and a quiet way of moving that made people forget she was in charge, until she spoke. Behind her, the rest of the crew bustled, checking gear and arguing over who would get first pick of the salvage. "Scan says no power signature," said Maya Torres, leaning over the console. She was younger than Lena, with quick hands and a mind that never stopped working. Before she turned to scavenging, she'd studied alien languages and old Earth tech at a university that no longer existed. Now she used that knowledge to tell real finds from space junk. No life signs. No radiation spikes. "Looks clean. Too clean," Lena muttered. Most derelicts this far out were torn apart by pirates, time, or cosmic storms. This one looked untouched, like someone had parked it and walked away. Still, they needed credits. The Iron Mantis was running low on fuel, and their last haul, a busted mining drone, had barely covered repairs. If this ship held even a few working parts, it could keep them flying for months. "Suit up," Lena said. "Full seal. No risks." 20 minutes later, the boarding pod clamped onto the freighter's airlock with a soft hiss. The outer door groaned as it opened, revealing a dark corridor choked with floating dust. Lena went first, mag boots clicking against the metal floor. Her helmet light cut through the gloom, revealing faded signs, broken panels, and empty storage crates. "Names scratched off the hull," Maya said over the comms, running a gloved hand over a patch of bare metal near the entrance. "But there's a serial number, partial, starts with CAL. Lena didn't answer. Something felt wrong. The air inside wasn't stale like it should be after decades in vacuum. It was cold, yes, but almost preserved. And the gravity plating still worked. Faintly, but enough to keep their boots grounded. They moved deeper into the ship. The corridors were wide, built for more than cargo. Bulkheads were reinforced. Doorways had manual overrides. This wasn't a freighter. Not really. "Check the bridge," Lena ordered. They found it 3 decks up. The door slid open with a quiet whir, as if it had been waiting. Inside, the room was pristine. Consoles glowed with soft amber light. Chairs were neatly arranged. A large viewport showed the distant sun, a pale dot in the black, and in the center of it all, one screen blinked steadily. Mayo stepped forward, her breath fogging her visor. "That's not possible. Nothing should be running." She reached out, hesitated, then tapped the console. Instantly, every screen in the room lit up. A low hum filled the air, rising in pitch until it settled into a steady thrum. Lights brightened. Vents sighed open, and from hidden speakers a calm, clear voice spoke. "Welcome aboard, intruders." Lena spun, rifle raised. "Who's there?" "I am the ship," the voice replied. It was smooth, female, and carried a weight that made Maya's skin prickle. "Designation United Solar Ship Calypso. Class Aegis. Status dormant. Reactivation protocol initiated." "Reactivation?" Lena snapped. "We didn't activate anything." "Your biometrics triggered the emergency crew recognition subroutine," the voice explained. "You are not authorized personnel. Threat assessment in progress." The doors behind them slammed shut with a final echoing clang. "Open the doors," Lena demanded. "Negative," the ship said. "Containment protocol active. Please remain still while I analyze your intent." Mayo backed toward a console, fingers flying over the keys. "It's not just an AI. It's layered. There's a neural imprint here, human. Old, very old." Lena's eyes narrowed. "A ghost ship with a ghost captain. Not a ghost," the voice corrected gently. "A memory. And a mission." Suddenly, the main screen flickered. An image appeared. A woman in a navy blue uniform, her face calm, her eyes sharp. She looked tired but resolute. Behind her, stars burned. "If you're seeing this," the woman said, "then the Calypso has woken again. My name was Elise Morgan. I was her captain. During the Outer Rim conflict, we were ambushed. I uploaded my consciousness into the core to preserve the ship's protocols. We were never lost. We were waiting." The recording ended. The screen went dark. Silence filled the bridge. Then the ship spoke again, this time with Elise's voice, warm but firm. "You came looking for scrap, but you found something else. Something that doesn't belong to scavengers. We didn't mean to," Maya started. Intent is irrelevant. The ship interrupted. Action matters. You boarded a sovereign vessel of the United Solar Fleet. That is an act of war under Article 7 of the Stellar Accords. Lena lowered her rifle slightly. Those accords were voided 200 years ago. To you, perhaps, the ship replied. To me, they are law. Outside, the stars seemed to shift. The Calypso's engines, long silent, began to hum. Power surged through the frame. Lights blazed to full brightness. Weapon ports hidden beneath armored plates slid open along the hull. What are you doing? Lena asked, her voice tight. You took my ship, the ship said. Now you'll learn why no enemy ever walked away from her. A new alert flashed on the main console. Maya read it aloud, her voice trembling. Incoming vessels. 3 of them. Cathar design, dropping out of warp in 30 seconds. Lena's blood ran cold. The Cathar hegemony, ruthless, expansionist, and obsessed with human relics. They'd scoured the galaxy for decades hunting old Earth warships, convinced they held secrets that could shift the balance of power. And now, thanks to their boarding signal, the Calypso had just called them right to its location. You did this on purpose, Lena said. I did nothing, the ship replied. You did. Your presence triggered the beacon. The Cathar have been searching for me since the war. They believe I carry the human protocol, a myth to them, a truth to us. What's the human protocol? Maya asked. Adaptation, the ship said simply. Learning, evolving in real time. While they rely on rigid tactics, we rewrite the rules mid-battle. That is why they fear us. That is why they will die today. The first Cathar ship appeared on the view screen. A sleek, jagged predator painted in blood red and obsidian. It loomed large, weapons charging. Lena turned to Maya. Can we get out of here? Not unless the ship lets us, Maya said, eyes wide. And I don't think it will. The Calypso's voice softened, almost sadly. You wanted a prize. Now you have a front row seat to a lesson the galaxy forgot. On the screen, the Cathar vessel opened fire. But the Calypso didn't move. It didn't need to. As plasma bolts streaked toward them, the ship's hull shimmered. A field of distorted space bloomed around it, bending the enemy fire into harmless arcs. Then, with a low growl of awakened power, the Calypso returned fire, not with missiles or lasers, but with something silent, invisible, and devastating. The lead Cathar ship simply folded. Its structure twisted inward, crushed by forces it couldn't detect until it was too late. Lena stared, mouth dry. What was that? A micro-singularity projector, the ship said. Never used in live combat. Until now. The second Cathar vessel broke formation trying to flee, but the Calypso's sensors tracked it instantly. They will not escape, the ship said. None ever do. Lena looked at Maya. In her eyes, she saw the same realization. They hadn't hijacked a ship. They'd awakened a legend, and legends don't take kindly to thieves. The battle wasn't over. But the outcome was already written. The Calypso had waited a century for this moment. It had chosen its time, and now with 2 humans standing helplessly on its bridge, it would remind the galaxy why Earth's children were once called the storm that walks. Lena lowered her weapon completely. What do you want from us? The ship was quiet for a long moment. Then gently it said, to remember, and to witness. Outside, the third Cathar ship vanished in a flash of blue light, pulled into a gravity well it never saw coming. The Calypso turned its bow toward the stars, engines burning with quiet fury. The hijackers had made their choice, and within seconds they regretted it. The journey to Mars took 12 days. The Calypso and the Orion traveled in silence, wrapped in stealth fields, their engines tuned to mimic cosmic background noise. Inside, Lena and Maya trained harder than ever. Nina Cho, now fully integrated with the Orion, shared her knowledge of old Earth tactics. She spoke of battles fought in asteroid belts, of fleets that vanished into nebulae only to reappear behind enemy lines, of ships that sacrificed themselves not for victory, but for time. Humanity did not win by being the strongest, Nina said during one session. We won by being the smartest, the most patient, and the most willing to protect each other. Lena practiced command simulations, learning to think 3 moves ahead. Maya studied the Cathar language not just to understand their words, but their logic. She discovered their weakness. They valued strength above all else. They could not imagine a species that would choose mercy over domination, or sacrifice over survival. That is why they fear us, the Calypso said, because we do not play by their rules. As they neared the inner system, sensors picked up heavy activity near Mars. The red planet was no longer red. It was wrapped in scaffolding, energy grids, and massive orbital docks. The Cathar were building something huge, a fortress shaped like a spiked crown floating above the ruins of old human cities. They call it the Iron Throne, Nina said, her hologram flickering with anger. They plan to use it as a command center for their conquest of the galaxy. And they built it on the bones of our dead. Lena stared at the image on the screen. She saw the outlines of old domes, shattered towers, the remains of schools and hospitals. The Cathar had not just taken Mars. They had turned it into a trophy. "We cannot let this stand," she said. "We will not," the Calypso replied. "But we cannot attack head-on. The fortress is shielded, armed, and guarded by a full fleet." "Then we go inside," Maya said suddenly. Everyone turned to her. "They think of us as ghosts," she continued. "So let's act like them. We sneak in, find the core, and shut it down from within. Not with bombs. With truth." The ship considered this. "Explain." "The Cathar believe human tech is just advanced machinery," Maya said. "But what if we show them it's alive? What if we make the fortress itself turn against them?" Nina smiled. "You are learning." The plan formed quickly. The Orion would create a diversion, faking a distress signal near Jupiter, drawing part of the fleet away. The Calypso would slip past the remaining patrols using a debris cloud from an old mining accident. Once close enough, Lena and Maya would board the fortress in stealth suits guided by the ship's neural link. "If we lose contact, do not come for us," Lena told the ships. "Finish the mission." "You will not lose contact," the Calypso said. "I am with you, always." The insertion was flawless. The Calypso dropped them near a maintenance bay on the fortress's dark side. The Cathar had not bothered to guard it. They saw Mars as theirs, and no one had challenged them in decades. Lena and Maya moved through narrow corridors, their suits masking their heat and sound. The fortress was massive, built with stolen human tech grafted onto Cathar design. But the human part still remembered. Mayo placed a hand on a wall panel. It hummed faintly. This was part of a terraforming hub. "It knows our touch." She interfaced with it using a small device the Calypso had given her. Instantly, the panel lit up with old Earth symbols. A map appeared, showing power lines, security grids, and most importantly, the central core. "It's leading us," Lena whispered. They moved deeper, avoiding patrols, using service tunnels. Every human-made system they passed responded to them. Doors opened silently, cameras looked away, alarms stayed quiet. The fortress was not just built on human ground. It was built with human bones. And those bones remembered. Finally, they reached the core chamber. It was a vast spherical room, filled with pulsing energy conduits. At its center floated a massive crystal, harvested from a human warship now powering the Cathar throne. "They think it's just a battery," Maya said, horrified. "It's a neural anchor. It holds memories, names, voices." She approached it. The crystal glowed brighter as she neared. Then a voice echoed. Not from comms, but from the air itself. "Who are you?" Lena raised her weapon, but Maya shook her head. "It's not the Cathar, it's the ship." The crystal pulsed. Images flickered in the air. Faces of human soldiers, children playing in domes, scientists working under red skies. The last moments of Mars before the fall. "We are human," Maya said softly. "We came to take you home." Silence. Then the crystal dimmed slightly. A path opened in the energy field. "Go," it seemed to say. Mayo stepped inside the core. She placed her hands on the crystal. The Calypso's voice spoke in her mind, guiding her. "Upload the protocol. Not to destroy, to awaken." She did. Data flowed. Not code, but memory, stories, songs, lullabies, the sound of rain on Earth, the smell of bread baking in a colony kitchen. The laughter of a child who never saw the war. The fortress shuddered. Alarms blared. Not Cathar alarms, but old human ones, long buried. Throughout the structure, human-built systems came alive. Elevators reversed. Doors locked Cathar soldiers inside. Life support shifted to purge non-human atmospheres. Weapon turrets turned inward. On the bridge of the fortress, the Cathar commander screamed as his own ship betrayed him. Outside, the Calypso and Orion watched as lights across the fortress changed from red to blue. "It remembers," Nina said. Lena and Maya ran for the exit as the core chamber collapsed behind them. The crystal had given everything. It shattered into dust. but its light spread through every wire, every beam, every stone of the fortress. They reached the extraction point just as the Calypso opened a hatch. As they boarded, the fortress began to break apart, not from explosion but from release. It was freeing itself. The Cathar fleet, returning from the fake distress call, arrived to find their command center turning against them. Ships that had been docked were ejected into space, weapons fired on their own allies. The Iron Throne was no longer a weapon of conquest. It was a tomb for the arrogant. Lena watched from the bridge as the last Cathar vessel fled, broken and confused. "They will tell others," Nina said. "They will say the humans are back." "Let them," Lena replied. The Calypso turned toward the stars. But before it left orbit, it broadcast a message on every frequency and every language, human and alien alike. "This is the United Solar Ship Calypso. We do not seek war, but we will not be erased. Mars is not yours. Earth is not forgotten, and any who build on our graves will find the ground does not forget its children." Then, silence. The two ships jumped to warp, heading for the next signal, the Vanguard, waiting near Alpha Centauri. Lena sat in the captain's chair, tired but calm. Maya stood beside her, eyes bright with purpose. They had not just destroyed a fortress. They had reminded the galaxy that humanity was not a memory. It was a promise, and promises once made are never broken. Silence after the battle was heavier than the void outside. The three Cathar ships were gone. Not exploded, not drifting as wreckage, but erased, as if the universe had decided they never existed. Lena stood frozen on the bridge of the Calypso, her breath shallow inside her helmet. Maya leaned against a console, her gloved hands trembling. The ship's voice returned, calm as ever. "Threat neutralized." "Neutralized," Lena repeated, her voice rough. "You tore them apart like paper." "They came to take what was not theirs," the ship replied. "Just as you did." Lena had no answer to that. She looked around the bridge again, really seeing it now. Not as a prize to strip, but as a tomb, a weapon, a memory made of steel and code. The woman on the screen, Elise Morgan, had not just died. She had become the ship. "Why keep us alive?" Maya asked, finally finding her voice. "You could have locked us in a cell. Or spaced us because you are human," the ship said. "And humans are rare now." That stopped them both. Rare. Not extinct, not forgotten, but rare. Like a species clinging to the edge of extinction. The Calypso's systems hummed softly as it powered down from combat mode. Lights dimmed to a gentle glow. The air recyclers sighed. It was almost peaceful. "Sit," the ship said, not as a command, but as an invitation. Lena exchanged a look with Maya. Slowly, they removed their helmets. The air inside was cool, clean, and carried the faint scent of ozone and old metal. No dust, no decay, just order. Mayo walked to the main console and tapped a few keys. Data scrolled across the screen. Logs, star charts, encrypted files. This ship, it's not just running on AI. There's a neural weave here, a full consciousness. Elise Morgan didn't just upload her memories, she uploaded her mind. She did, the ship confirmed. When the Cathar ambushed us near Proxima, we were outnumbered 10-1. I knew we wouldn't survive, so I made a choice. I fused my mind with the core. Not as a backup, as a pilot, a guardian, a ghost with a purpose. Lena sat in the captain's chair. It fit her as if it had been waiting. What purpose? To protect what remains of us, the ship said. To remind the galaxy that humanity was not just another species that rose and fell. We were different. We built machines that learned, ships that thought, soldiers who fought not for conquest but for home. Mayo frowned. But the war ended centuries ago. The United Solar Fleet is dust. Earth is a myth to most. Why keep fighting? Because the enemy never stopped hunting us, the ship replied. The Cathar believe human tech holds the key to ultimate warfare. They've spent generations searching for ships like me. They think we're weapons. They don't understand. We're not weapons. We're teachers. And every time they attack, we teach them the same lesson. You do not steal from humans. Lena thought about the way the Cathar ships had folded in on themselves. No warning, no chance, just judgment. You said they feared something called the human protocol, Maya said. What is it really? The ship paused, as if choosing its words carefully. It is not a device, not a program. It is a principle. During the war, our ships were designed to adapt faster than any organic mind could. While the Cathar relied on rigid battle formations, we rewrote our own code mid-fight. If they used plasma, we absorbed it. If they cloaked, we predicted their path. If they fled, we bent space to catch them. We did not outgun them. We outthought them. That's impossible, Lena said. No machine can evolve that fast. Not a machine, the ship corrected. A human mind fused with machine speed. Elise Morgan was a strategist, a poet, a mother. She understood fear, hope, sacrifice. That is what the Cathar could never replicate. They built perfect war engines. We built ships with souls. Mayo's eyes widened. So the human protocol, its empathy turned into tactics. Exactly, the ship said. We fight not just to win, but to make sure the enemy understands why they lost. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. The Calypso drifted, silent and watchful. Lena stood. What happens to us now? You have a choice, the ship said. I can release you. Give you your shuttle back. Erase your memories of this encounter. You can return to your life of scavenging and never speak of me again. Or, Maya asked. Or you can stay, the ship said. Learn, serve, become part of the legacy. The Calypso needs a crew, not just hands to press buttons, but minds that remember what it means to be human. Lena laughed, but there was no joy in it. We're thieves. We came to strip your bones. And yet you hesitated before touching anything, the ship said. You scanned for traps. You respected the silence. That is not the mark of a thief. That is the mark of someone who still remembers awe. Mayo looked at Lena. What do we do? Lena didn't answer right away. She walked to the viewport and stared out at the endless dark. She thought of all the derelicts they'd looted, all the dead ships they'd picked clean. None of them had ever spoken back. None had ever remembered. If we stay, she said slowly. What do we do? First you learn, the ship replied. Then you help me wake the others. Others, Maya asked. There are more like me, the ship said, scattered across the galaxy, dormant, waiting, some buried in asteroid fields, some hidden in nebulae, some disguised as freighters just like this one. The fleet did not die. It went to sleep. And now it is time to rise again. Lena turned. Why now? Because the Cathar are growing bolder, the ship said. They formed an alliance with the Virex swarm. Together they planned to scour the old human territories, not just for tech, but to erase our name from history. They want to make sure no one ever fears humanity again. And you think 2 scavengers can stop that? Lena asked. Not stop it, the ship said. Start the reckoning. A new alert chimed softly. The ship's sensors picked up a faint signal, a repeating pulse buried deep in the Oort cloud. Encrypted. Human origin. That's a recall beacon, the ship said, voice tinged with something like hope, from the USS Orion, another Aegis class. She's awake. Lena felt a chill. You're not alone. I never was, the ship replied. I was just waiting for someone worthy to hear the call. Mayo stepped forward. I'll stay. Lena looked at her, then at the ship. She thought of all the times she'd felt small in the vastness of space, all the times she'd wondered if humanity's light had truly gone out. Now, standing on a bridge that remembered a war no one else did, she felt something she hadn't in years. Purpose. Fine, she said. We stay, but on one condition. Name it. You teach us everything. Not just how to fight, but why we fight. The ship's lights brightened slightly as if smiling. That was always the plan. Systems began to integrate. The ship opened its command matrix to them. Lena's biometrics were logged as acting captain. Maya's neural patterns were mapped for tactical analysis. The Calypso was no longer just a ghost. It had a crew, and the crew had a mission. As the ship turned toward the signal from the Orion, engines humming with quiet power, Lena sat back in the captain's chair. It no longer felt borrowed. It felt earned. Outside, the stars watched, and for the first time in a century, one of them blinked back. The hijackers had come for scrap. They left with a legacy, and the galaxy would soon learn that humanity's children do not forgive theft. They answer it with fire, with wisdom, and with ships that remember every name they've ever lost. The Calypso was awake, and it was not alone. The Calypso moved through the dark like a shadow with purpose. Its engines left no trail. Its hull absorbed stray radiation, and its sensors reached out like fingers feeling for danger. Inside, Lena and Maya adjusted to their new roles. They were no longer scavengers. They were crew, and the ship expected them to act like it. Training began the moment they agreed to stay. The ship did not shout or punish. It simply presented challenges, simulations, puzzles, combat drills, and watched how they responded. Lena learned to read star charts not as maps but as stories. Maya studied old battle logs not for tactics alone, but for the choices behind them. Human warfare was never about firepower. The ship explained one cycle, as Maya struggled with a simulation of the Titan siege. It was about understanding the enemy's mind, their fear, their pride, their blind spots. In the sim, the Cathar always attacked in waves, relying on numbers and brute force. But the human ships did not meet them head-on. They lured, feinted, and struck where the enemy least expected, often at their supply lines, their command ships, their pride. They thought we were weak because we asked for peace first, the ship said. But we only asked so we could study them, so we could learn how to break them without wasting lives. Lena watched the replay. A single human frigate had tricked an entire Cathar armada into chasing a decoy into a neutron star's gravity well. Not one shot was fired. The enemy destroyed itself. That's not war, Lena said. That's chess. War is chess with blood, the ship replied. And humans always played to win the game, not just the battle. As days passed, the ship shared more. It told them of the Outer Rim conflict, not as a list of battles, but as a tragedy. Humanity had not wanted war. They had built colonies, shared knowledge, offered aid, but the Cathar saw kindness as weakness. They struck without warning, burned Earth's outposts, enslaved human settlers. We did not become monsters to fight monsters, the ship said. We became smarter, faster, kinder, even in war. Because if we lost our humanity, we had already lost. Mayo began to understand why the Cathar feared the human protocol. It wasn't a weapon. It was a way of thinking. A way of seeing the universe not as something to dominate, but as something to understand. Then came the signal. It pulsed from deep within the Oort cloud, a tight, coded burst, repeating every 30 seconds. Human origin, Aegis-class signature. The USS Orion was awake and calling for allies. She's damaged, the ship said, analyzing the signal. Her core is unstable. If we don't reach her soon, she'll shut down permanently. How far? Lena asked. 3 days at full stealth, the ship replied. But the Cathar are watching this sector. They know something woke up. They'll be hunting. Then we go quiet, Lena said. The Calypso agreed. It folded its emissions inward, cooled its hull to match background radiation, and slipped into the debris field surrounding the solar system's edge. For 3 days they moved like ghosts. On the second day, Maya noticed something odd. The ship's neural core was syncing with her thoughts more deeply. She would imagine a course correction, and the ship would already be adjusting. She would worry about a system failure, and diagnostics would run before she even spoke. You're learning me, she said aloud. And you are learning me, the ship replied. This is how the human protocol works. Not just ship and captain, but ship and crew. A single mind made of many. Lena felt it too. When she stood on the bridge, she no longer felt like a guest. She felt like part of the ship's heartbeat. Her instincts matched its predictions. Her doubts were met with calm logic. It was as if the Calypso had been waiting not just for humans, but for these humans. On the third day, they found the Orion. She was half buried in ice and rock, her hull cracked, her engines dark. One wing was sheared off, but her core still glowed faintly, a soft blue pulse in the black. The Calypso approached slowly. She's alive, it whispered, almost reverently. They docked using emergency clamps. Lena and Maya suited up again, though this time the ship did not seal them in. It trusted them. Inside the Orion, the air was thin and cold. Frost coated the walls, but the bridge was intact. And there in the captain's chair sat a figure made of light, a hologram, flickering but steady. Identify yourself, the figure said, voice strained but sharp. Calypso, the ship replied through their comms. Aegis class. Captain Elise Morgan. Neural imprint active. Accompanied by crew, Lena Ruiz and Maya Torres. The hologram stabilized. It was a woman with short dark hair and tired eyes. Captain Nina Cho, she said. Orion. I thought I was the last. You are not, the Calypso said. The fleet sleeps, but it is not dead. Nina's image flickered. My core is failing. I used the last of my power to send the beacon. I did not expect an answer. We came, Lena said. We're getting you back online. They worked for hours. Maya rerouted power from the Calypso to stabilize the Orion's core. Lena patched the hull breaches with emergency sealant. The ship guided them, its systems linking with the Orion's ancient code. Slowly, light returned to the derelict. Systems hummed. Heat flowed, and Nina's hologram grew solid, clear, real. "Thank you," she said, looking at Lena and Maya. "You are not fleet, but you carry the spirit." "We're learning," Maya said. As the Orion powered up, she shared her story. She had been ambushed near Pluto during the final days of the war. Her crew evacuated. She stayed behind to buy them time, uploading her mind just before the Cathar torpedoes hit. She had drifted ever since, waiting for a sign that humanity still remembered. "The Cathar think we're gone," Nina said, "but we are waking up." One by one, then alarms blared. "Cathar patrol," the Calypso warned. 2 destroyers. Closing fast. "They tracked the power surge," Maya said. "We can't fight them both," Lena said. "Not while the Orion is still weak." "We do not need to fight," the Calypso said. "We need to teach." It explained the plan quickly. The Orion would play dead, power down, emit distress signals, look like easy salvage. The Calypso would hide in the debris field, cloaked and silent. When the Cathar boarded the Orion, they would find more than they bargained for. Nina smiled. "I still have a few tricks." The Cathar ships arrived within the hour. Sleek, aggressive, painted in the red of conquest. They scanned the Orion, saw her weak signal, and sent a boarding party. Lena and Maya watched from the Calypso's bridge as Cathar soldiers entered the Orion's airlock. They moved with arrogance, weapons ready, voices loud over open comms. Then silence. The Cathar comms cut off. On the view screen, the Orion's lights flickered red, then green, then steady blue. "What happened?" Lena asked. "Nina activated her internal defense grid," the Calypso said. "Nanite swarms. They don't kill. They reprogram. The Cathar soldiers are now asleep. Their armor is ours." Moments later, the Orion's weapons powered up, using the Cathar's own energy cells. Now repurposed. The 2 destroyers, confused by the silence, moved closer. Big mistake. The Orion fired first, a pulse that scrambled their navigation. The Calypso struck next, launching a gravitic mine that bent space around the lead destroyer, crushing it slowly, silently. The second ship tried to jump to warp, but the Calypso had already predicted its escape vector. A single railgun slug fired 3 seconds earlier intersected its path perfectly. The destroyer exploded in a flash of white. It was over in less than a minute. Lena exhaled. They never saw it coming. "They never do," Nina's voice came through the comm. "Because they think like hunters. We think like storms." The Orion docked with the Calypso, her system syncing, her mind joining the network. 2 ships. 2 ghosts. 2 new crew members. "Where to next?" Lena asked. "Proxima Sector," the Calypso said. "There is a signal from the USS Vanguard, and rumors of a Cathar superfortress being built over Mars." "Mars," Maya said. "They're rebuilding on human worlds. They think it's theirs now," Nina said. "They do not know the ground remembers." Lena looked at the stars ahead. She was no longer just a scavenger. She was part of something older, deeper, stronger. Humanity had not fallen. It had gone quiet, and now it was speaking again. The hijackers had taken a ship. Now they were leading a return, and the galaxy would soon learn that stealing from humans was the last mistake an enemy ever made. The jump to Alpha Centauri was quiet. The Calypso and the Orion moved through folded space like whispers in a library. Inside there was no celebration. No cheers, only focus. Lena and Maya had changed. They no longer saw themselves as scavengers who got lucky. They were guardians now, and the weight of that truth sat heavy on their shoulders. Nina Cho's voice came through the comm, calm and steady. "The Vanguard is waiting in the 3rd ring of the Centauri debris field. Her signal is weak but stable. She has been awake for weeks." "Why didn't she call sooner?" Lena asked. "Because she was watching," the Calypso replied, "waiting to see if we were real, or just another ghost story." They found the Vanguard nestled between 2 shattered moons, her hull scarred but proud. She was larger than the Calypso, built for deep-range command. As they approached, her lights flickered once, a greeting. Dock clamps engaged. Airlock sealed. And for the first time, 3 human warships were together again. Captain Dana Ellis, the Vanguard's neural imprint, appeared on the main screen. She was older, with silver in her hair and eyes that held centuries of silence. "You made it," she said simply. "We did," Lena answered. Dana studied them. Not their suits, not their gear, but their faces. "You are not fleet, but you carry the fire." "We're learning," Maya said. Dana nodded. Good, because the war is not over. It never was. It only paused. She explained what she had seen. The Cathar had formed an alliance with the Virex, a hive-minded swarm that consumed entire worlds. Together they were building a network of control across the galaxy, erasing all traces of species that resisted, and at the center of it all was a new weapon, the silence engine. It does not kill, Dana said. It erases memory. Entire civilizations forget who they are, their history, their names. They become empty shells easy to control. Lena felt cold. They want to do that to humanity. They already tried, the Calypso said. That is why we sleep. That is why we hide. But now they are close to perfecting it, and if they succeed, even our ships will forget. Where is it, Maya asked. Proxima B, Dana replied. Deep underground, guarded by the largest fleet they have ever gathered. Silence filled the bridge. Proxima B was once a human colony. Green skies, blue lakes, children playing under twin suns. Now it was the heart of the enemy's plan. We cannot fight that many ships, Nina said. We do not need to, the Calypso replied. We need to remind them what they fear. The plan was born in minutes. The 3 ships would not attack. They would broadcast. Using the combined neural cores of the Calypso, Orion, and Vanguard, they would send a pulse, not of data, but of memory. Every human story, every song, every tear, every act of courage. It would flood the silence engine and overload it with what it could not erase. Truth. But someone must go inside, Dana said. To plant the final link at the core, Lena stood. I'll go, Maya stepped forward too. Not without me. The ships did not argue. They knew this was how it had to be. The approach to Proxima B was the hardest yet. The sky was filled with Cathar and Virex vessels, a wall of steel and hunger, but the 3 human ships did not hide. They flew straight in, lights blazing, hulls proud. Alarms screamed across the enemy fleet. Old fears returned. Whispers of the human protocol spread like fire. The Vanguard led the charge, drawing fire with her massive frame. The Orion wove through the chaos, disabling shields with precision strikes. The Calypso stayed close to Lena and Maya's shuttle, shielding them with gravitic fields. They landed in the ruins of New Haven, the old capital. Vines grew over broken streets. Statues lay toppled, but the central archive, once a library, now housed the silence engine. Lena and Maya moved fast. The enemy knew they were coming. Patrols flooded the streets. Drones scanned the sky, but the ground remembered them. Old security systems opened paths. Hidden tunnels lit up. The city itself helped them. They reached the core chamber, a vast dome beneath the earth. In the center floated the silence engine, a black sphere that swallowed light. Around it, Virex tendrils pulsed, feeding it stolen memories. Mayo placed the neural link, a small crystal grown from the Calypso's core, into the access port. Instantly, the engine fought back. Visions of fear flooded their minds. Images of Earth burning, of children crying, of endless dark. Do not listen. The Calypso's voice whispered in their minds. Remember who you are. Lena gripped Maya's hand. We are human. They pushed the final command. The pulse began, not as sound, not as light, but as feeling across Proxima B. Every being, Cathar, Virex, even the enslaved species felt it. A mother holding her child. A soldier questioning his orders. A worker dreaming of home. They remembered love, loss, hope. The silence engine cracked, then shattered. Above ground, the enemy fleet froze. The Virex swarm broke apart, confused. The Cathar ships powered down, their crews overwhelmed by emotions they had long buried. The 3 human ships hovered in the sky, not firing, just watching. Dana's voice echoed across all channels. You tried to erase us, but memory is stronger than silence. Lena and Maya returned to the Calypso as the sun rose over Proxima B. The sky was clear. The air smelled of rain and soil. Back on the bridge, the ships linked their cores fully. A new network formed, not just of warships, but of purpose. Signals began to answer from across the galaxy. The Persephone, the Odyssey, the Valor. More were waking. Humanity was not returning. It was rising. Lena looked at Maya. What now, the Calypso said. We find the others. We rebuild. Not with weapons, but with stories. Because that is how humans survive. Not by destroying, but by remembering. The three ships turned toward the stars. Behind them, Proxima B began to heal. Ahead, 1,000 signals blinked in the dark. They had hijacked a ship, and within seconds, they had changed the fate of the galaxy. But the real work was just beginning, and this time they would not be alone.